I was finalizing the last details of a significant project at the office when my phone vibrated. A call from Mark, a longtime friend. It seemed unusual, as he rarely called during work hours. I answered with a smile, hoping for a casual chat to alleviate work stress. "Hi Mark, what's up?" I asked, trying to mask my growing apprehension. "John, I need to tell you something. It's about Emily," he began hesitantly. My heart leaped. "What's wrong with Emily? Is she all right?" Silence followed. Then Mark inhaled deeply. "Paul and I saw her entering a motel with another man." The world tilted. It felt like the ground vanished beneath my feet. "You must be mistaken, Mark. Are you sure it was her?" "John, I wish I were wrong, but we saw her clearly. She was with that guy, Michael." Michael. My best friend. A knot formed in my stomach. Anger and sorrow clashed, brewing a storm within. I thanked Mark and hung up, unsure what to do. For a few minutes, I was paralyzed, staring blankly. Impulsively, I messaged Emily. "I know everything. The marriage is over." I sent it before reconsidering. Minutes later, my phone buzzed. A message from Emily. "John, what are you talking about? I don't understand." My anger flared. How could she feign ignorance? I sent another, more pointed message. "You and Michael, I know you're together. Don't come home." I set down my phone, struggling to breathe. My head swam with images and memories. Every tender moment, every promise. All felt like lies now. I rose and paced the office, unable to focus. Somewhere, Emily was with Michael. I thought of all the times I'd trusted him, shared secrets, confided in him. Their betrayal was a double blow, unimaginable. As I grappled with this, my phone rang. Emily. Reluctantly, I answered. "John, can we please talk? It's not what you think." "Isn't that what I think?" I countered incredulously. "I know exactly what's going on. You betrayed me." "John, listen to me, please," she pleaded, but I cut her off. "There's nothing to listen to, Emily. You made your choice. The marriage is over." Her sobs filled the line, but I felt no pity. The pain she'd inflicted was profound. I hung up before she could speak again, tossing my phone onto the desk. I sat, trying to regain composure. Anger still pulsed, but I knew I needed clarity, understanding. In recent months, had I missed signs? Small details now making grim sense? One thing was certain. My life would never be the same. The story was far from over. He sat on the sofa, his head throbbing, a maelstrom of thoughts swirling. The message to Emily remained on his phone, anger bubbling within like a volcano ready to erupt. How could she do this? To us? He recalled the past few months, every overlooked hint, every moment now illuminated in this devastating new light. He remembered Emily's late arrivals, excuses always at the ready, a teacher's meeting, school planning. Initially, he'd believed her unquestioningly. Why doubt her dedication, her exemplary teaching? But the delays grew more frequent, the excuses weaker. He should have known. Last Friday, for instance, she'd arrived home, hair slightly disheveled, a strange smile playing on her lips. "Sorry I'm late, love. The meeting ran longer than expected," she'd said, attempting to mask her nervousness. He'd wanted to believe her, but a gut feeling screamed otherwise. "It's okay. I was just worried," he'd replied, concealing his suspicion. Now, everything clicked. The revelation that she was with Michael, his best friend, was a gut punch. Michael, of all people. He'd never suspected him capable of this. The pain of betrayal was unbearable. His phone vibrated, a message from Emily. "John, please don't do anything rash. Let's talk." The mix of anger and sadness hit him hard. How could she even ask, after all this? He replied, "Don't come home, Emily. I need time to think." Across town, Emily left the motel with Michael, visibly shaken, pale, eyes wide with panic. Michael tried to grasp her arm, but she pulled away. "Emily, calm down. Let's fix this together," he urged. "How can you say that, Michael? He knows everything." Don't you understand? Our world has fallen apart, she cried. Then let's go, we can run away, start over somewhere else, Michael offered hopefully. But Emily shook her head, hesitant, worried about the consequences. I don't know, Michael. I don't know if I'm ready for this, she whispered, her voice trembling. Emily knew this decision would alter their lives forever. She looked to Michael for reassurance, but uncertainty reigned. I need to think. I need time, she finally said, pulling away. Meanwhile, at home, he tried piecing together his shattered heart. Every detail, every suspicious moment returned with painful clarity. Emily's message, requesting a conversation, only deepened his confusion. How could she do this? To them? He sat on the couch, eyes fixed on his phone, hoping for a magical answer, but feeling only immense emptiness. The betrayal, not only from Emily but also from Michael, was unbearable. He knew nothing would ever be the same. He realized he needed to make a decision, one that would change their lives forever. The day after that devastating message, his mind was a whirlwind of emotions. He could barely think straight, but he knew he had to confront Michael, his best friend. The idea that he was involved with Emily was unbearable. The double betrayal from the woman he loved and the friend he blindly trusted was the worst part. He drove to Michael's office, his heart pounding. Michael greeted him with a smile, quickly fading at his expression. John, what's wrong? You look like a hurricane about to hit, he said lightly. Michael, we need to talk, John said firmly, leaving no room for evasion. Michael closed the door, sat down, looking uneasy. What's this about? He asked, though his eyes betrayed his knowledge. You and Emily, John replied, feeling anger and pain surge. I know about you too. Silence descended, heavy and suffocating. Michael hung his head. John, I don't know what to say. I never wanted this to happen. You never wanted this to happen. How can you say that? You knew exactly what you were doing, John shouted, unable to contain his fury. You were my best friend, Michael. How could you betray my trust like that? Michael tried to justify himself, stammering. John, I'm so sorry. It was a weak moment. Emily was feeling alone, and so was I. Weakness. Is that all you have to say? John retorted contemptuously. You destroyed my marriage, my life, and all you can say is it was a weak moment? Michael rose, finally meeting his gaze. Look, John, I know nothing I say will make this right. I messed up, but please try to understand. We were lost. Lost. You were lost in my house with my wife while I was working to support us, John shouted, his voice shaking with rage. I never want to see you again, Michael. Never again. Michael remained silent, and John left, feeling a weight lift, yet an unbearable pain linger. Returning home, he found Emily in the hallway, packing. She looked at him, eyes red from crying. John, please, can we talk? I can explain, she begged, her voice weak. There's nothing to talk about, Emily. You made your choice, he replied coldly. I know I messed up, but I love you, John. I never wanted to hurt you like this, she said, tears streaming down her face. Love? You call that love? You cheated on me with my best friend. How can you talk about love? He moved away as she tried to touch his arm. John, please, let me explain. I felt so alone. You were always busy, always distant. I didn't know how to reach you anymore. Don't try to blame it on me, Emily. I was busy working for us, for our future, he said, feeling pain and anger mix again. I know, and I'm sorry, but please don't kick me out like that. We can try to work this out, she pleaded. There's nothing to settle, Emily. Our marriage is over. It ended the moment you chose to betray my trust, he declared, feeling a strange sense of relief. She collapsed to the floor, weeping. He turned and left, needing air, space, time to process everything. His world had shattered, but he knew he would somehow rebuild it. When Emily walked through the door, guilt and despair etched on her face. He stood in the living room, trying to remain calm, but his heart pounded wildly. Betrayal was a poison, weakening him. John, Please listen. I can explain, she began, her voice trembling. Explain what, Emily? He snapped, anger blazing. Explain how you destroyed our marriage, how you lied and cheated on me with my best friend? What is there to explain? She took a step forward, eyes welling. I felt so alone, John. You were always so busy with work, with your projects. I needed someone to pay attention to me. So you decided the best way to deal with this was to sleep with Michael, my best friend. He couldn't believe his ears. You haven't even tried to talk to me, to work this out together, she said, lowering her head, tears flowing. I tried, but you were never available. Every time I wanted to talk, you were in a meeting, focused on some project. I felt invisible. The pain in his eyes was evident, but he couldn't empathize. Invisible? And you think I didn't feel the same way? You think working tirelessly wasn't my way of trying to keep everything going? Of building a future for ourselves? She shook her head, unable to respond. The tension was thick, suffocating. Finally, he took a deep breath. I've already consulted a lawyer. I'm filing for divorce immediately. Emily gasped. John, please don't do this. We can get through this. I know we messed up, but we can try to make it right. There's nothing left to fix, Emily, he replied coldly. You destroyed our trust, and without that, no marriage can survive. She stepped back, as if physically struck. I'm leaving, she whispered, tears streaming. Watching her go was like watching a slow-motion movie. Each tear felt heavy on his heart, but he knew there was no turning back. The betrayal was too deep to forgive. When the door closed, the silence was deafening. He sat, head in hands, trying to process everything. Emily and Michael, the broken trust, the uncertain future. It was all a whirlwind. Night fell, but he found no peace. Emily's betrayal was an open wound, and healing would take time. All he could do was breathe, cope with the pain, one day at a time. Loneliness became his new companion, the silence mocking his situation. Yet, he was determined to move forward, even if it meant starting from scratch. Emily had made her choice, and now he had to make his. The days after their separation were a blur of emotions. He felt lost in a fog, unable to find solid ground. The silence of the house, once a haven, now felt like a suffocating prison. Emily's absence was a deafening scream in the empty hallways and untidy rooms. He decided he needed to stay busy. He immersed himself in work with an almost obsessive intensity. Designing buildings had always been his passion, a way of transforming chaos into order, but now it was more, an escape. Yet, no matter how hard he tried to focus, Emily's memories haunted him. Every corner of the house, every object was filled with memories of their time together. One morning, reviewing floor plans, his phone rang. He hesitated at Emily's name on the screen, but answered, hoping for a practical question about the divorce. John, Her voice was shaky, pain and confusion evident. I don't know where to start, but I need to talk to you. Emily, I've said everything I have to say. There's nothing left to discuss, he replied, trying to keep his voice steady, but a lump formed in his throat. Please, just listen. It's about Michael. The name made his blood boil. What about him? I don't care about anything related to him anymore. He cheated on me too, John. He was cheating on me with another woman, she said. The revelation surprised him. A part of him felt satisfaction, but another part, the part that still cared for Emily, felt pain. Are you telling me that Michael, the man you destroyed our marriage for, was also cheating on you? He asked, processing the information. Yes, she replied, her voice breaking. I feel so stupid, so used. You have no idea what it's like to find out the person you trusted was also lying to you. I think I have an idea, he replied bitterly. Silence hung in the air. John, I know I messed up. I know I hurt you in ways I can never fix, but I wanted you to know that no matter what, a part of me will always regret what I did. Emily, regret doesn't change what happened. It doesn't erase the pain. It doesn't rebuild broken trust. I'm trying to move on, and you should too. She sighed. I know, and I will. I just wanted you to know that, despite everything, I never wanted to hurt you. He hung up, feeling a mix of emotions. As much as he wanted to hate her, a part of him still cared. But he knew he needed to move on. Days later, focusing on a new project, he received a message from an unknown number. It was Emily, saying she needed to talk urgently. Reluctantly, he agreed to meet her at a cafe. She was already there, looking worried. John, thanks for coming. I found out something about Michael that you need to know. Emily, I don't want to know anything about him anymore. Our story is over, and I want to move on. Please, just listen. This is important. I discovered that Michael was using your confidential information to benefit his own career. The revelation hit him like a punch. What? What do you mean? He used details of my projects to promote himself. I have proof. I thought you should know. He remained silent, processing the double betrayal. Emily, if that's true, he's going to pay for it. She nodded, relieved. I just wanted to do the right thing. I hope this helps you move forward. He left the cafe, feeling anger and determination. Emily had given him the key to exposing Michael and closing this painful chapter. He was sitting in his living room, trying to focus on a new architectural project, when his phone vibrated. It was Emily. We need to talk urgently. His heart raced. Anger and curiosity warred. What more could she want? He took a deep breath and replied, I'm home. You can come now. About half an hour later, the doorbell rang. It was Emily, her expression a mix of desperation and determination. He let her in silently. They sat facing each other, the silence palpable. John, I know you don't want to see me, but this is important. It's about Michael, she began, her voice trembling. I don't want to hear anything more about him, he replied, trying to stay calm. He's already done enough damage. Please, just listen, she insisted, tears welling. Michael was using your confidential information to benefit his own career. I have proof. This caught him off guard. What do you mean, using my information? She pulled a flash drive from her pocket and placed it on the table. I found this on his laptop. They're your project ideas, the ones you shared with him over the years. He was stealing your work, John. And worse, he used this information to get the promotion you should have received. He picked up the flash drive, shaking, and connected it to his laptop. He opened the files, and the truth unfolded. His projects, his ideas, all presented as Michael's. I don't believe this, he muttered, feeling anger and betrayal. He was my best friend. I know, Emily said, remorse evident. And that's why I needed to tell you. I know I betrayed you in many ways, but this is something you need to deal with. He took a deep breath. Why are you telling me this now? What's in it for you? I get nothing, she replied sincerely. I just couldn't let him get away with it. I already lost you, but I can't let him destroy your career too. He looked at her, realizing the seriousness of her words. Perhaps this was her last attempt at redemption. Thanks for telling me, he said. But that doesn't change anything between us. I know, she replied, lowering her head. I just want you to know that, despite everything, I never wanted to hurt you. They said goodbye in silence. After she left, he called his lawyer and explained the situation. His lawyer advised him to gather the evidence and schedule a meeting with company management. 2 days later, he sat in the boardroom, presenting the evidence against Michael. The director's expressions shifted from surprise to outrage as he detailed the betrayal. This is unacceptable, the CEO said, rising. Michael will be fired immediately, and we will take necessary legal action. He felt relief mixed with sadness. Michael, his best friend, had proven himself a traitor, but at least he would face the consequences. Leaving the meeting, he received a text from Emily. I hope everything went well. I wish you the best. He replied with a simple, thank you. He knew, despite everything, he needed to move on. Emily and he had found emotional closure. Their lives would diverge, but this painful chapter was ending. He walked to a nearby park, sat on a bench, watching leaves fall. Perhaps this would be a new beginning, a peaceful start, even in separation.